I was the type of person who never wanted to cause a scene. I don't mean that in the shy, people-pleaser way either. I mean the kind of quiet that watches everything, absorbs it, stores it, and eventually remembers all the ways people showed you who they really were. My name's Ryan. I'm 24 now, but this story starts a few weeks before my graduation. After 5 years of grinding my way through undergrad and then a master's program, working part-time jobs, pulling all-nighters, and balancing everything from rent to student loans, I was finally done. And I wanted to celebrate with the people who mattered most. Or, at least, the people I thought mattered. Family's complicated. Mine is no exception. I'm the oldest grandkid on my mom's side, which means I've always been stuck in that weird in-between role. Old enough to be the example, but still expected to shut up and let the adults talk. My mom's side of the family is loud. Lots of opinions, lots of drama, and way too much passive aggression wrapped in polite smiles. My mom's the second oldest of 5 siblings. 2 brothers, 2 sisters, all living within a 2-hour radius. Family dinners at my grandparents' house used to be a monthly thing. Potlucks, screaming kids, half-burnt casseroles, and adults sneaking wine into coffee mugs while pretending everything was fine. You get the picture. My parents divorced when I was 12, and my dad kind of drifted out of the picture. So growing up, my mom's side became my main family. She leaned hard on them, which meant I did too. Every birthday, every holiday, every school performance, I was there, trying to earn a little corner of their attention. And I think I did, for a while. But then my cousin Amber came along. Amber's the golden child. Always has been. She's 2 years younger than me. And somehow every accomplishment she made was louder, shinier, and more celebrated. When I got into college on a scholarship. That's great, Ryan. Hey, Amber, did you finish your painting? When I landed my first internship. Cool, Ryan. Amber just got accepted into the youth arts program in Paris. I never minded too much. Not on the surface, anyway. Amber was actually nice, in that overly sweet way that never felt quite real. She was bubbly, artsy, and the kind of person who always had a camera ready to capture the perfect moment for social media. But over time, I started noticing the pattern. She always knew how to make the spotlight shift back to her. Subtly, strategically, and no one ever called it out. Still, I love them. All of them. Even when they forgot my birthday. Even when they asked me for help fixing their laptops, setting up their Wi-Fi, driving their kids around, because I was so good with that stuff, but never once offered to pay for gas or even said thanks. I brushed it off. I told myself, that's just family. And when graduation came around, I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd show up for me. I didn't want a big party. I'm not the type, but I did want to do something special. So, I came up with the idea of a concert. One of my favorite artists, Jameson Gray, was doing a reunion tour, and the show was set for the same week as my graduation. I figured it'd be a cool, fun way to celebrate. Not just me, but all of us. Music, memories, the whole vibe. So I bought tickets. 7, to be exact. Front section. Not VIP, but close enough to feel the bass in your chest and see the sweat on the singer's brow. They weren't cheap, but I'd been saving up. I used a chunk of the graduation gift money I'd been stashing for myself and booked the tickets early, 3 months ahead. I even designed little digital invites with the concert details, plus a message that said, graduating soon. Wanted to celebrate with my favorite people. Let's make it a night to remember. I sent those invites to my mom, my Aunt Rachel, Uncle Mark, my cousin Amber, and a couple others who'd been there through the years. I told them it was my treat. All they had to do was show up. The responses trickled in slowly. Mostly emojis. A few "that's awesome" messages. No one called. No one really asked about graduation itself. But I didn't let it get to me. I just told myself people were busy. That they'd show up and it'd all come together. The day of graduation was hot. I wore the gown, shook hands, smiled through the photo ops. My mom cried. Well, teared up, but it was a quick hug before she rushed off to help Rachel with something urgent. We didn't even do dinner. That should have been my first sign. But I still had the concert to look forward to. I texted them the group reminder. Can't wait to see you all tonight. Crickets. I figured they were driving. Or maybe they were just waiting to meet up at the venue. The show started at 8. I got there at 7:15, waited near the gate with the digital tickets on my phone, ready to scan everyone in. And I waited. And waited. 7:30, then 7:45. I started to sweat. Not from the heat, but from that awful sinking feeling in your gut when you realize something's off. I texted again. Hey, I'm at the gate. Let me know when you're close. No response. At 8 o'clock sharp, the music started. The opening act hit the stage. The crowd erupted, and I was still standing by the gate, watching strangers file in with their friends and families, arm in arm, laughing, hugging, holding beers and overpriced snacks. I checked my phone again. Still nothing. Finally, at 8:12, I got a text from Amber. It was a selfie. Her, my mom, Rachel, Mark, and two of the others. At the concert. Inside. Smiling. Drinks in hand. The caption said, "We made it. Best night ever." I just stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, heart pounding. I was holding their tickets, which meant they'd bought their own. They didn't even need me. They'd planned this. They bought their own tickets and snuck in without saying a word. No one called to say, "Hey, we decided to grab our own spots." No one texted to ask if I was already inside. They just went. Without me. After I'd planned it. Paid for it. Invited them. And the worst part? They didn't even think I'd notice. I sat down on a concrete bench near the side entrance, feeling like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. The music blared from the stadium behind me, muffled and distant. I couldn't bring myself to walk in. I didn't want to see them. I didn't want to fake a smile or pretend it was okay. So I sat there, alone, scrolling through their Instagram posts. Amber had already uploaded a story, a video of them dancing and screaming lyrics, my mom waving at the camera. No mention of me. No tag. Just the caption, "Best family ever." And that was when something shifted. I didn't comment. I didn't text back. I just stared at those words, "Best family ever," and felt something inside me snap. Not in a loud, angry way. It was quieter than that. A slow, cold realization. I'd spent years showing up for these people. Sharing. Helping. Fixing. Paying. Laughing at their jokes, even when they stung. Biting my tongue. Being the good one. And this was how they thanked me. That night, I drove home in silence. No music. No podcasts. Just the hum of the tires and the glow of city lights sliding across my windshield. And when I got home, I opened my laptop. Logged into every shared subscription I'd been paying for. Netflix, Spotify, HBO, the Disney Plus account they use for their kids. Even the shared Amazon Prime. One by one, I changed the passwords. Logged out every device. Removed every profile that wasn't mine. Then I pulled up our family group chat. The one they always ignored unless someone needed a ride or a favor. I didn't say anything. I just left the group. And the next morning, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. But I didn't answer. Not yet. I didn't touch my phone all morning. Not out of spite. At least, not at first. I just couldn't deal. I woke up with that heavy, gnawing tightness in my chest, the kind you get after a breakup or a funeral. It wasn't just about the concert. It was everything. The years of being overlooked, the casual disregard, the silent expectations. It was like every forgotten birthday and every ignored message suddenly fused together into one undeniable truth. I didn't matter to them. Not really. By noon, I finally looked at my phone. 6 missed calls, 14 texts, 3 voicemails, all from people who hadn't responded to my concert invites until it was convenient to scream about Disney Plus no longer working. "Hey Ryan, did you change the Netflix password? Amazon says I'm not authorized anymore. Please don't tell me you canceled Spotify. The kids were watching Moana. What's going on?" No one asked how I was doing. Not a single, "Sorry we didn't meet you at the concert," or "Hey, we messed up." Just panic over lost entertainment and the sudden realization that the family tech mule had cut the cord. I didn't reply. I wasn't ready. I was still staring at that selfie Amber sent, the one of them all smiling like they'd pulled off some kind of inside joke. Maybe they had. It didn't take long before they moved from confused to annoyed. "This is really childish, Ryan. If something's wrong, talk to us. You're an adult now. Grow up." That one was from Rachel, of course. She always played the disappointed aunt card, like some discount therapist who only knew how to guilt trip instead of listen. I ignored it and went for a walk instead. Just me, a coffee, and a cold December breeze. When I came back, my mom was calling. I stared at her name. My thumb hovered over the screen. I could feel my heartbeat in my jaw. And then I let it ring. She tried again. And again. On the 4th try, I answered. "Hi," I said flat. "Oh, thank God. Ryan, why haven't you been answering? I didn't say anything. Ryan, she said again, more gently. Are you okay? A beat passed. I wanted to scream. To finally say no, I'm not okay, and I haven't been for a long time. But instead, I asked, why did you guys go without me? She was quiet. I could hear the faint hum of her kitchen fan, the clang of a pan. Then she sighed. Amber got tickets last minute. We didn't want to hurt your feelings. I blinked. So you didn't want to hurt my feelings, so you went to the concert I invited you to without me? It wasn't like that, she snapped, a little too fast. You weren't answering your messages. We assumed you were already inside. I was at the gate. My voice was cold. I had your tickets. Another pause. Well, it was all kind of rushed. You know how things get. Amber said it'd be easier if we just grabbed our own spots and met up later. But then we couldn't find you in the crowd. I knew she was lying. The stadium had sections. Rows. They could have found me. If they wanted to. But they didn't. Because they'd never planned to. So you celebrated without me? I said. You're overreacting, she replied. And that was the moment. That was the moment I felt something unravel inside me. Because this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a miscommunication. It was a choice. A cold, calculated one they'd all agreed on. I didn't even know what I was to them anymore. Just a wallet? A backup babysitter? The guy who fixed their group chat when it glitched? I hung up. Not dramatically. Just a quiet, final tap. She didn't call back. That night, I sat down and made a list. Not out of pettiness, but clarity. I needed to see it all. Every service I'd been paying for. Every ride I'd given. Every favor I'd done. Every time I was the reliable one, while Amber got the applause. And as I wrote, I realized just how much I'd let myself be used. They didn't hate me. They just didn't value me. I tried to move on. I really did. I stopped responding to most of the group messages. When my uncle asked if I could help fix the Wi-Fi router again, I told him I was busy. When Rachel sent me a long-winded paragraph about how isolating yourself isn't healthy, I left it on read. And when Amber posted another story of her family brunch, everyone there but me, I muted her account. For a while, things were quiet. Then Christmas came, and this is where things spiraled. I wasn't planning on going. I'd already told my mom I had other plans. She didn't ask what they were. Just said, okay, in that tight, clipped voice that always meant, I'm telling everyone you're being difficult. But I held firm. I spent Christmas Eve with a couple of friends from my grad program. Nothing fancy. Just takeout, board games, and laughter that didn't come with conditions. Christmas morning, my phone buzzed. A photo from Amber. Everyone gathered around the tree at my grandparents' place. Matching pajamas. Laughter. The caption, nothing like real family to start the day right. I stared at it. My stomach turned. Not because I missed them. By now, I was used to the distance. But because that word, real, felt pointed. Like a jab. A reminder. They were writing me out. 2 hours later, my mom texted. Did you block me from Hulu? I ignored it. Then Rachel texted. You're embarrassing yourself. Then Amber. Hey, just so you know, we're still family, even if you're throwing a tantrum. Hope you find peace. That was the moment I snapped. I called her. She answered on the second ring, voice sugary sweet. Hey, Riri. Don't call me that. She laughed. Someone's still grumpy. What's up? I saw your post. Oh, the pajamas? Cute, right? You said real family. She didn't answer. I pressed on. Was that supposed to be about me? Amber sighed dramatically. Ryan, everything isn't about you. Maybe if you stopped acting like a martyr every time something doesn't go your way. I paid for those concert tickets. We didn't ask you to. And there it was. The sentence that stripped away everything. I didn't respond. I just let the silence stretch until she got uncomfortable. Look, she said, softer now. I know things got weird. But you isolating yourself, changing all the passwords, it's just toxic, honestly. Toxic. I laughed once. You all went behind my back. Used me. Left me sitting outside my own celebration. And I'm the toxic one. You didn't even come to Christmas. I wasn't invited. You didn't need to be. I guess I did, I said quietly. Because clearly I'm not considered part of the family anymore. More silence. I've always included you, she said weakly. No, Amber. You've always centered yourself. And everyone else just let you. Click. I ended the call. Not because I couldn't take more, but because I didn't need to. And for a few days after that, I felt lighter. Not happy. Not yet. But free. In a way I hadn't felt in years. But then came New Year's Eve. And that's when everything blew up. Because on the night of the 31st, my phone buzzed again. This time, with a photo from a number I didn't recognize. It was a screenshot of a group chat, one I wasn't in. Aunt Rachel, my mom, Amber, Uncle Mark, all of them. The messages were brutal. Amber, he's seriously unstable. Like, I wouldn't trust him around my kids. Rachel, he's acting like a victim, but he's always been emotionally manipulative. Always playing the sad boy act. My mom, I tried. Honestly. But he's always been distant. Cold. Even as a kid. Mark, he'll come crawling back. Once he realizes no one else will put up with him. And then the kicker. Amber again. Let him be alone. Maybe then he'll finally learn he's not the center of the universe. I stared at that image for a long, long time. And for the first time in years, I felt something settle. Not sadness. Not even anger. Just clarity. Because I finally knew exactly what I needed to do next. But not yet. First, I needed a plan. And trust me, I had one. New Year's Day was the quietest morning I'd had in months. No family calls. No guilt-tripping texts. No fake apologies or awkward emojis trying to slide back into my life. Just me, a cup of black coffee, and that screenshot of the group chat still sitting on my phone. I'd read it maybe 20 times, every word burned into memory. He's always been emotionally manipulative. He'll come crawling back. Let him be alone. And for the first time in a long time, I was alone. No background noise. No obligations. Just stillness. The silence felt foreign, like waking up in a house after everyone's moved out. But it wasn't sad. It was clean. Like I'd finally stopped chasing something that never wanted to be caught. But clarity doesn't erase the ache overnight. The next few weeks were rough. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. Not really. Most of my friends were still traveling, visiting family, or simply busy with their own lives. I kept myself distracted. Cleaned my apartment top to bottom. Canceled more shared accounts I didn't even realize were still active. An old Canva plan. A Dropbox upgrade my cousin had begged for back in 2021. Every cancellation felt like cutting a thread from this weird, tangled net I'd been stuck in. Still, there were moments the silence hit too hard. Like the first Sunday, I didn't get a call from my mom asking if I was coming over for lunch, or rather, asking if I could pick up groceries and then come over. Or when I saw a photo on Facebook of my little cousin's birthday party and realized I hadn't even been told when it was. I wasn't surprised, but I was hurting, not from the exclusion itself, but from how normal it had become. It was like I'd been the family's emotional punching bag for so long that stepping outside the ring felt unnatural. Every time my phone buzzed, I braced for guilt. Every social media post was a reminder of where I no longer fit. I didn't unfollow anyone yet. I wanted the reminders. They fueled something in me. Not anger. Not revenge. Focus. I threw myself into work. Hard. My grad program had ended a month earlier, and I'd been freelancing part-time ever since, mostly digital consulting for small businesses. Building websites, optimizing workflows, cleaning up back-end messes they didn't even realize they had. It paid decently, but I'd always treated it like a side hustle. Now, it became my full-time obsession. I rebuilt my website, streamlined my service offerings, built a client onboarding portal. Every little task became a brick in this invisible fortress I was building. I signed up for business coaching webinars, reconnected with professors, even started putting out feelers for office space. It wasn't just about the work, it was about control, about building something mine. Something that didn't depend on a family member's approval or a cousin's passive-aggressive commentary. The first big client came 3 weeks later, a boutique fitness brand that needed a full digital relaunch. I remember staring at the proposal email for a full minute, rereading the number at the bottom. $4,200. For one project. I hadn't made that much in a month during school. That same night, Amber posted another story, this time from a ski resort. Her, Rachel, my mom, and their kids all bundled up, clinking glasses by a fire pit. The caption? Family time is the best time. I stared at it for a second. Then I tapped mute. No drama. No announcements. Just a quiet shift. I stopped watching their lives from the outside. Because mine was starting to move forward. By February, I was fully booked. 3 client projects, a wait list, and a handful of glowing reviews later, I finally stopped feeling like I had something to prove. I was tired, sure, but not the drained, depleted kind of tired that came from being used. This was the satisfying ache of building something from scratch. Brick by brick, step by step, I finally had room to breathe, room to reflect. That's when I started journaling again. Not like the moody high school kind with angsty quotes, but actual reflection, processing. I wrote about Christmas, the concert, that group chat screenshot. Every entry peeled back another layer I hadn't realized I was still carrying. One day I wrote, "They never saw me. They only saw what I could give." Another day, "I'm not lonely. I'm just detoxing." And my favorite, "Maybe family isn't blood. Maybe it's who shows up when you have nothing left to offer." In March, I got invited to speak at a digital strategy conference in Seattle. It wasn't massive, just a couple hundred people, but it felt big to me. I remember standing on the stage, looking out at a crowd of strangers taking notes on my slides, nodding along, asking questions like I was somebody. And for the first time, I realized I didn't need their applause. I didn't need Amber's validation or Rachel's reluctant compliments or my mom's half-hearted proud of you texts. I had earned this. Alone, quietly, while they were busy writing me off as unstable and emotionally manipulative. I was building a business that was finally paying off. Still, some part of me kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it did. In April, I was eating lunch in a cafe near my apartment when my phone buzzed. It was a photo from a number I didn't have saved. At first, I thought it was a spam message, but no. It was a picture of my mom in a hospital bed. The message said, "Thought you should know. She's asking for you." Just those 6 words. Nothing more. I didn't even realize my hand was shaking until the fork slipped from my fingers and clattered to the floor. I didn't know whether to cry, panic, or throw my phone across the table. The rage I'd buried for months came bubbling back up. I hadn't heard from my mom since New Year's. She hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't once said sorry. But now, I was supposed to come running. I sat there, frozen, torn between compassion and resentment, between old habits and new boundaries. I could hear her voice in my head, soft and guilt-laced. "You're still my son, Ryan." Yeah, a son she left outside a stadium on graduation night. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I went home, closed the blinds, sat on the floor with my back against the couch, and let myself feel for once. All of it. The confusion, the anger, the guilt, the hurt. Because even though I'd been healing, thriving, even, this wasn't just some stranger. This was the woman who packed my lunches in 2nd grade, who taught me to tie my shoes, who used to sing Landslide when she thought I was asleep. And she'd turned on me. Let them turn on me. So why did I still care? That night, I called the number. A nurse answered. "Ryan, she's been asking for you." What happened? She collapsed at home. Low blood sugar, dehydration, stress. She's stable now, but she's been crying, saying she thinks she ruined everything. I didn't speak. "Do you want to come in?" I hesitated. "I'll think about it," I said. And I hung up. Not out of cruelty, but because I wasn't ready to decide what kind of son I wanted to be. Not yet. I knew this moment, this crossroads, would change everything. But before I made that choice, I needed to see everything clearly. Not just who they were, but who I had become, and whether going back meant sacrificing the person I was finally proud to be. That night, I sat in bed with my laptop open, not on social media, not watching movies, but drafting something, a letter, to all of them, but especially Amber. Because whether I walked into that hospital room or not, they needed to hear what I had to say, and for once, they weren't going to interrupt. They were going to listen, and that was the beginning of the reckoning. I didn't send the letter right away. The first draft was raw, emotional in a way that almost embarrassed me as soon as I reread it. It sounded like the voice of the version of me that still needed closure, still begged to be understood. But I wasn't that person anymore. I didn't need them to suddenly love me the way I used to hope they would. I wasn't writing to heal. I was writing to warn. The next morning, I did what I always did when something stirred inside me. I got organized. Call it a coping mechanism or a leftover habit from grad school, but I always found clarity in structure. I opened a new document, named it "They'll Listen This Time," and started outlining everything. Not the letter. Not yet. This was something else. This was the beginning of a plan. It started as a thought experiment. What would I do if I wanted to make them feel even half of what I'd felt? Not just about the concert, not just about the hospital call, but the years of being overlooked, minimized, used, then discarded. Could I make them realize how much I'd been holding up behind the scenes? Turns out, I could. Because they had no idea how many things in their life quietly depended on me. Amber, Rachel, my mom, even Mark. Over the years, I'd become their invisible infrastructure. The tech guy? The subscription manager. The "can you take a look at this invoice" person. I was the one who set up Rachel's email server for her side hustle Etsy store. I was the one who connected Amber's art portfolio site to her Shopify checkout. I was the one who helped Mark's barbershop appear on Google Maps and taught him how to respond to reviews so he didn't sound like a caveman with caps lock. I built those things for free. I never asked for credit, or money, or anything really. I just wanted to feel useful. Now I wanted something else. I wanted them to notice when that usefulness disappeared. So I made a checklist. A literal one. At the top, in bold letters, I wrote, "Detach without a sound." Underneath, I listed everything I'd ever done for them, organized by name. Amber had 8 items. Rachel had 5. Mark had 2. My mom. That one I left blank for now. Then I got to work. First up, Amber. Her online portfolio had been hosted on a server I'd been paying for. I originally set it up when she was applying to some gallery internship years ago. She didn't know the credentials, she'd lost them, and I'd just taken care of it. So I logged in, backed up everything, and shut the hosting down. Then I removed the DNS records. It wouldn't be instant. There'd be a day or two before the site showed as unreachable. Next, her Shopify. I didn't take it offline. No, that would have been too obvious, too messy. Instead, I disconnected her Google Analytics, which I'd also set up. Without it, she'd have no idea which of her products were performing. No heat maps. No bounce rate data. She'd be flying blind. I even removed the email automations I created, so all her customers would stop getting those "thank you for your purchase" follow-ups. I moved on to Rachel. She ran a small candle business out of her garage and thought she was a tech genius because she used Canva. Her Etsy store was tied to a custom domain she bought, but had no clue how to manage. I'd handled the setup, and I'd been quietly paying the domain renewal fee each year because she forgot her card details and never followed up. So I let it lapse. Didn't cancel it, just didn't renew. She'd get the warning emails soon. And when her site went dark, she'd blame Etsy, or her laptop, or Mercury in retrograde. Eventually, she'd call me, but I wouldn't answer. Mark was easy. His business listings were still up. His barbershop didn't exactly need an IT department. But I'd been maintaining his review monitoring service, a third-party tool that aggregated all his Yelp and Google reviews in one dashboard and let him auto-reply. He didn't even know how it worked. He just thought the internet was finally working in his favor. I canceled the subscription. He'd be back to checking reviews manually, if he even remembered how. Every time I unchecked an item on that list, I felt a little more free. Not vindictive, just clean. Like I was tidying up a house I didn't live in anymore. The final tab was my mom, and I stared at her blank list for a long time. This one was different. She hadn't just leaned on me for tech stuff. She leaned on me emotionally. Financially, I'd helped her cover rent twice when she was between jobs. I'd fixed her car. I'd handled the FAFSA renewal for my younger brother, Liam, so she wouldn't miss the deadline. I'd been the one to schedule her doctor's appointment last year when she was too busy to call. But I hadn't seen Liam in months. And that's when it hit me. He hadn't been in any of the family photos recently. He hadn't texted. He hadn't called. And that felt wrong. So I reached out. I texted him. Just 3 words. "Hey, you okay?" He responded 5 minutes later. "Can we talk?" We met the next day. Neutral territory, coffee shop, corner table. He looked older. More tired. He was 16 now, just old enough to start seeing the cracks. He didn't smile when he saw me, but he didn't flinch either. "I miss you," he said after we sat down. I nodded. "I miss you too. Mom says you hate us." I didn't respond right away. I stirred my coffee, trying to figure out the kindest way to say the truth. "I don't hate you," I said eventually. "But I don't let people walk over me anymore." He looked down at his drink. "She's been acting weird." "Weird how?" "She cries. A lot. Like, when she thinks I'm not around. And she's been fighting with Rachel and Amber. Even Grandma." Something flickered in me. I wasn't happy she was struggling, but I was relieved someone was finally seeing it. That the narrative of Ryan is the problem was starting to crumble. "You don't have to pick sides," I told him. "I already did," he said. "I just didn't say it out loud." We talked for an hour. He told me things I hadn't known, like how my mom had spun the concert story into some tale about me abandoning the family that night. How Rachel told everyone I'd stolen login info and was sabotaging them. How Amber called me unhinged at brunch with some of her friends. I didn't even feel surprised anymore. What I did feel was ready. I looked at Liam. I need a favor, I said. He nodded before I even asked. He was still young, but he wasn't naive. Not anymore. The next part of my plan required something more public. Not a post, not a confrontation, but a shift. They built this image of me as some bitter, dramatic outcast, someone clinging to the past and throwing tantrums through passwords and canceled logins. So I decided to give them something they couldn't ignore. Success. Liam helped me gather screenshots of my name on the back end of Amber's Shopify, of the domain I'd paid for under Rachel's name, of the review service I'd installed on Mark's business, of the server logs that proved I had admin access to every platform. It wasn't blackmail. It was proof. Just in case. I wasn't going to leak anything. I was going to show up. In May, I launched something new. A business rebrand. New logo. New tagline. New website. A behind-the-brand blog post that told my story, not the dramatic version, but the real one. About how I'd helped dozens of family members and friends build their online presence, quietly and freely. About how I'd finally stepped away to build something for myself. And at the end of the blog post, one line. Sometimes, the people who build the loudest voices are the ones no one ever bothered to hear. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't need to. But I made sure it showed up on every platform they followed me on. Amber saw it first. I know because she viewed my LinkedIn post within 3 minutes of it going live. Rachel lurked later that night. Mark never engaged, but Liam said he brought it up at dinner, casually, pretending he just happened to see it through a friend. The next week, I got an email from a woman named Kayla. She ran a mid-sized digital agency. Said she'd seen my blog post. Said it resonated. Said she had a contracting opportunity. 6-month retainer. $60,000. I read the email 3 times. And then I laughed. Because just like that, I had everything they said I couldn't build without them. Independence. Stability. Self-worth. And most importantly, a choice. To leave it all behind, or burn it down on my own terms. And believe me, I was just getting started. Revenge, when it finally came, didn't roar in with fireworks or some dramatic, face-to-face confrontation. It came quietly, surgically, like a scalpel instead of a hammer. I wasn't interested in screaming matches or slammed doors. That would have let them control the narrative again. Ryan lost it. Ryan's overreacting. Ryan's being dramatic. No, this time, they'd have to face the truth without the comfort of villainizing me. It started with Amber. Her portfolio site went down 3 days after my rebrand launched. I knew, because Liam sent me a screenshot. The error page was stark, a white wall with a simple message. This site can't be reached. Her Instagram story that day was a mix of panicked emojis and passive-aggressive hashtags. Hashtag WIME, hashtag TechFail, hashtag help. She tagged Shopify support. Claimed she'd been hacked. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She started DMing everyone she could think of. Friends, clients, probably even me under a burner account. I could practically hear the spiral through Liam's updates. Her January collection was supposed to drop that week. She'd hyped it up for months. And just like that, no site, no links, no analytics, no automation. A day later, she posted a teary-eyed selfie in her car with the caption, "I work so hard and the universe keeps testing me." Amber always was the queen of emotional bait. I scrolled past it without blinking. Next came Rachel. Her Etsy storefront didn't just vanish, it glitched. Because when a domain lapses, it doesn't go quietly. For a few hours, visitors would be redirected to a generic landing page that said the domain was available for purchase. Then it just timed out. She posted a long Facebook status. "If anyone knows a good tech person, please DM me. My business site just disappeared overnight. This is why I hate computers. I swear someone is out to get me." Someone commented, "Didn't Ryan set it up for you?" She never responded. Then she blocked me. Mark was last. His was the smallest fallout, but somehow the funniest. The review aggregator I'd canceled? It meant that for the first time in 2 years, he had to check every platform manually. Yelp, Google, Facebook. And it was clear he hadn't been keeping up. A customer left a negative review about a bad haircut on a Tuesday, something about uneven sides and a rude receptionist, and by Friday, it had snowballed. 3 more people commented underneath, echoing complaints. By the time he noticed, His Google rating had dropped half a star. He texted me, "Mark, hey man, quick Q. Did you ever use like a program for my reviews?" Me, "I used to. Not anymore." Mark, "Can you turn it back on?" Me, "No. But you can subscribe to it. It's like $30 per month." Mark, "You were paying for that." Me, "Yeah." Mark, "Damn. Why?" I didn't respond. Because if he had to ask why, there was no point answering. And my mom, she was the final piece. For weeks after the hospital visit, she tried to pretend everything was fine. She left me voicemails in that careful tone people use when they want to seem warm without admitting guilt. She said things like, "I'd love to see you," and "Liam misses you," like the last few months hadn't happened. I waited, and then I scheduled a meeting. Not with her, with her landlord. I wasn't on her lease, but I was the guarantor. Another little favor I'd done 3 years ago when she was struggling with credit. I hadn't thought twice about it back then. She needed help, I had a stable income, and it was supposed to be temporary. But of course it never was. Until now. I contacted the landlord and formally requested to be removed as guarantor upon lease renewal. Legally, I couldn't cancel it mid-lease, but I could put them on notice. They'd either require her to reapply solo or find a new co-signer. She got the notification 2 days later. The voicemail I received that night was short. No greetings. No pleasantries. Just, "So you're really cutting us off." I didn't reply. Because yes, I was. But I wasn't done. I had one more card to play. A month later, I launched a video campaign for my business. Simple, clean, professional. It featured testimonials from a few satisfied clients, case studies, and one final piece, a mini documentary-style video called The Invisible Architect. I didn't name names. I didn't show faces. But I told the story. My story. How I'd built systems and infrastructure for people who never said thank you. How I'd helped relatives grow their platforms, their stores, their brands, only to be excluded from their success. How I'd spent years as the helpful background guy, while others took credit, took space, and took advantage. And how I'd finally walked away. The video went viral. Not explosively, but steadily. It hit a nerve. People commented with their own stories of being the responsible one, the quiet fixer, the tech-savvy sibling, who everyone leaned on but never appreciated. I never said the word family once. But they knew. I know they knew, because Amber texted me one word a week later. Wow. I didn't answer. Rachel emailed me. "You could have talked to us." I didn't reply. Mark never reached out again. And my mom, she sent me a letter. A real one. Handwritten. It started with, "I didn't realize how much you did." It ended with, "I'm sorry. I hope it's not too late." I folded it neatly, placed it in a drawer, not out of anger, but because I didn't need to answer right away. Maybe someday. Maybe not. Liam and I still talk. Every week. He's coming to visit this summer. I told him I'd teach him how to build a website, if he wanted. He said he did. He also said Amber had started paying someone to rebuild her portfolio. "It's not the same," he added. "It's clunkier, slower, doesn't load on mobile half the time." I smiled. And as I sat in my apartment, sunlight filtering through the windows, my inbox full, my business thriving, my peace intact, I realized something. Revenge isn't loud. It's not a scream or a slam or a speech. Sometimes it's just a clean break, a quiet success, and the echo of your absence in the lives of people who never thought you'd leave. They always expected me to come crawling back. I never even looked over my shoulder.